Welcome back to the channel. Today, Joe, Jen, we're talking about conflict. Let's pick the number one conflict we see at our locations. And that seems to be between worker safety and food safety.
Yeah. Go with that. I think ops and safety and engineering. I mean, safety is just at odds with everybody, it seems like some days, but that's all right.
And the reason we're doing this episode is that it is the two kind of different agencies and regulatory that kind of go against each other. And it's hard to...
Well, I think the reason why we want to cover this is because it's hard to figure out, like, what is the most important
in the next 5 minutes.
Is food safety the most important thing? Is worker safety the most important thing? Well, who really cares if we don't put product at the door? And if y'all keep standing on that equipment over there, well, we're never going to get running again. So engineering's aggravated. So there's all these things that start coming into play, but it really does seem like when you wave the flag of like, hey, we got to shut everything down. We got to stop this. We got problems. It has to do with safety, whether it be worker.
Correct.
Safety. Those are the two that really kind
of. And then people show up. A lot of people show up. And then you start deciding at that moment of which one.
Who wins out. Yep. And I will also say that I see a lot of changes happen in the name of food safety that do impact worker safety.
Absolutely.
And if we don't manage those cohesively, that can create a lot of risk.
That's correct.
For sure.
So you've got 5 rules you want to follow food safety at your location.
Yep.
And you've got 5 absolutes that Joe, the safety manager, wants to have at your location.
Absolutely.
And none of them may line up. So what you got to do then is you got to start breaking down really that risk. And that's hard to do because it is literally per location, different ways it can look. You can have different food safety at the same product at 2 different plants, be completely different, and the worker safety can be completely different.
Yeah, so I think that there's like the GMPs, right? We all know those. Like, don't chew gum on the production floor. We got it, right? Like these nails,
lock out.
They're not going to.
You better lock out from the safe side.
Floor. On safety, we're going to lock out. We're going to do all these things, but there's all this like weird gray area.
Do I lock out if I'm cleaning a conveyor? If I can stand back? So that started. Well, why do I clean it? Because food safety needs to be cleaner right now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we change and modify because we need to do it from a food safety standpoint. Right. So intensified cleaning.
Absolutely. That can change PPE for me.
Yep. And it can also be like, okay, that's great. How am I going to tie off there?
Right.
I have to now reach this weird thing. I have no system in place to access that. And
Absolutely.
I have to do it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You know?
But I got to have guarding on my side.
Yep.
So if I've got guarding, can't take that guarding off, but you got to do elevated. I don't know where you're going to tie off. Then we're like, well, how are we going to clean it still? So,
yes, it's a challenge.
So what we're trying to get you to do in this episode is take those 5 items each. She has 5 items, I have 5, whatever role we are, it doesn't matter. And take those and get ahead of it. Because we know there's the way we normally run the business, and then we know there's the way when things don't go right. So we want you to address those issues.
Okay, so that's the first thing is that we have some things that we can kind of anticipate. I would assume that food safety at your facility, you can check with them, but have some kind of plan when things go left, right? We have a recall when we pop positive for different buggies. You know,
we take a sample that morning and it's bad.
Positive. Yep. We've got listeria. We've got some of these different things. We need to do some different steps.
Correct.
Change our methods a little bit. We get some kind of something in the product, and now we have issues or stuff's tagged and NRs and all of the things.
So what time of day that is affects the safety side dramatically. If it happens during pre-op, sanitation, just clean it. We're okay. It happens at 9 a.m. during a product changeover. Now the same task may be done by an employee of mine that works at my location. Did I train them correctly to do that task? Now that same thing happens in the afternoon during shift change. We're going to shut everything down and just clean everything for everybody. Now we're into downtime. So you've got to plan out these different sectors.
I think the biggest thing that we need to do is, and I know that this sounds great, right? Just take some time. You've got nothing but time. Yeah. I know that no one has any time. I recognize that. But when you are reviewing some of your food safety plans and your chemical handling plans, chemical management plans, in regards to how you're going to handle some of these circumstances that inevitably at sister locations or at that location have come up before or are likely to or could come up if we don't manage things a certain way. We've got contingency plans, right? We'll look at those contingency plans
absolutely
as a cohesive unit between food safety and worker safety and figure out how are we going to do this? If we have to do intensified sanitation, where are we standing? Where are we tying off? happens if we pop positive over here? How are we going to handle that? How are we going to handle that over here? If we're going to get a new chemical, we have a chemical.
Absolutely. Onboarding process from the safety side may not be anything the same as what you're looking at from food safety side.
So if we're bringing on a new chemical acquisition, we've got some different evaluations that we've got to do for that.
And one of them is testing. Some plants.
Does it work?
We have to test it first to see if it works. But from the worker safety side, we don't maybe have a testing protocol for that or PPE.
We may not have a testing protocol. We may also not have the right PPE, right?
Right.
And it also depends. Let's be very clear on how are we intending on using this. So that's when we want to start getting reps involved. That's when we want to start talking to the chemists and say, if your SDS doesn't cover, PPE or handling instructions for how I want to use this chemical that I'm being told I can use in this way, let's talk to the chemist about what do we need to be wearing?
Absolutely.
And make sure that we have some of that on site ahead of time. We get the training done.
And maybe,
check all those
we do the testing on an off shift on a down day Sunday. So for my world, I've got almost nobody there.
Exposure. So I'm not having to have PPE for 100 people in a room, maybe just 3.
Correct. So now I'm going to take that chemical and I'm going to have different levels of the plant per plant.
Okay.
So now from sanitation, we say 100 to 300 is our range. Every plant may have a number. Find out what that number is so the worker safety people can start doing their math.
So that's a great point. So we do see different from the sanitation side because we've told you we do a lot with sanitation, and it is incredible how we will go from in a company or to sister locations or to other companies that manufacture the same item, same product. But we all have different numbers that we're titrating to, same general chemical, maybe a slightly different makeup, but the intent and the use.
And there's a range for each one.
Yeah, and there's this range, and it's different. We'll see totally opposite ends of the spectrum. And that does change my PPE because across the board, the PPE
is usually standardized.
It doesn't change. It's the same for all of those locations, but the range is different. And especially if we start having people get nervous that things are not maybe coming out, our swabs are maybe a little sketchy, a little iffy.
Let's clean a little more.
Yeah, let's add a little bit more, but we don't really say anything.
Add more chemical.
It gets weird. Yeah, it gets weird. So
that's where you got to look at.
Yep.
And the last two we have here, you've got to look at when you're having these meetings. Everyone has a weekly meeting, kind of food safety. You got to get worker safety in there.
Usually it's at 7 a.m.
on a Thursday.
On a Thursday or Friday.
You got to be there.
Worker safety, you got to be there.
You're behind if not all the people are in the meeting.
Yes. Something else. We're aware at a plant level on Tuesday or Wednesday if things aren't going well.
Correct. So we can start getting plans together.
So before we show up to the Thursday or Friday morning meeting where we're going to be hand scrubbing everything, and we'll need some tie-off points in places we've never had them before, and we'll need them by tomorrow morning.
Right.
We know that things maybe not be great, or we know earlier in the week. And so with safety, we want to make sure we're getting looped in.
Right.
Earlier,
so we are bringing
start getting plans in place.
So if we bring in a contractor in, they're pre-qualified. So if we need somebody to do some welding, we got the right hot work permits. I mean, we got to.
It's just a matter of we need a little bit of time to brainstorm and then procure the equipment from a different state.
I got to rent a scissor lift tomorrow now. I mean,
it takes a minute to make some of that happen, and we don't generally want to do that. It's kind of like construction project. We don't want to do it on project day.
That's correct. Now my last one here. Most interesting conflict is, and the solution, we always talk about, we want you to take away something from these episodes. You need to go look at everywhere you have to hand scrub or take a sample, take a guard off that's elevated.
So samples at elevation, hand scrubbing at elevation.
Start with that.
So this could be my FSQR/QA,
anybody,
whatever you call it, or it could be sanitation.
That's correct.
Because generally we don't have a lot of ops people doing the samples during the shift.
Correct.
But
you got it. That's
whether it be a sample of product or swabbing.
Absolutely. Either way. You take that and start with the elevated, and that'll start telling you, because who does that task, how they do it, what shift is going to start telling you bigger stories. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to go out on a whatever day, week it is, for 15 minutes walking to the floor, and you're trying to figure out, how do I find the greatest risk we have here this week? That is one way to do it.
Yeah.
Don't go out all 8 hours. Just go out for that 15 minutes is the most critical, and you can learn. But look for that elevated, look for those job tests like that, and it'll tell you a big story.
Absolutely. I think mine would be anytime I see a flashlight.
Oh, that's good. Because they tell you where to go look.
Anytime I see a flashlight, just want to make sure that we're not breaking the plane
Confined space.
Our body, head, hand, flashlight.
Maybe the light needs new batteries.
Check. Yeah. Anytime I see a flashlight,
that's a good point.
Like, does this person need to be locking out? Are we breaking the plane from a guardian standpoint because we've already had sanitation remove locks?
I'll tell you an interesting about that. I had someone do a mixer blender years ago, and they had this flashlight over, and if they would have had some way to attach it to them, we wouldn't have had confined space entries and been down for so long. When they leaned over that flashlight, they let go. It goes in the bottom mixer blender. And now we're doing confined space permits. Now we got to stop pre-op. Now we got to reclean it. All these cycles took off. Everybody's like, we're down. But it was all because of a process that we didn't have a control just in case something went crazy.
Yeah.
I guess
another thing for me would be, if we've got FISQR, food safety, whatever you call them, QAs, climbing things, let's just make sure that got free hands.
Especially if I'm going to send somebody to do an inspection and a scissor lift, I got to give them harness training. So there's all these things that interact. So for today's episode, I'm just trying to give you some different ideas to look at.
1,000 apologies. Yes, I forgot how to drink.
So for this episode, we're trying to give you different things to look at, different ways to maybe look at the puzzle. Everyone has a different version of it. All we want you to do is back up and say, let's have these discussions ahead of time.
That eliminates
it does. It's amazing how just having a few minutes.
Food safety has valid points. Worker safety has valid points.
Yes.
So how do we get them to meet in the middle? Okay, so these are our opinions.
Yeah.
Take them from what you want. Do a lot of safety stuff. We do a lot during pre-op. We do a lot of sanitation.
Absolutely.
So these are just our opinions. Some ideas that you can look at, while you're doing your rounds on different shifts, during sanitation, during pre-op, all of the things. If you want some on-site support,
Allen Safety LLC.
We do all this stuff. So allen-safety.com is where you'll find all of our in-person services. You can reach out that way. If in-person stuff isn't in the budget, allensafetycoaching.com is a great
resource.
Yep, it's a great resource. You get free email-based coaching with Joe and I as a member of that, as well as access to over 100 different videos. They are commercial free. You can rewatch them over and over and over.
We got to do something with our thumbs.
Yeah. If it really does genuinely help us, you guys, if you subscribe, share.
It helps.
The only reason why we're doing this is
to be nice.
We want to get the videos to those that need to see them, because I can tell you we are not making any profit off these whatsoever. We are way in the hole. So if you could subscribe, share, it really does help push that content to those that need to see it. And until next time, we will see you later. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Safe, Efficient, Profitable, a worker safety podcast. If you're looking for more in-depth discussions or step-by-step solutions on all of the different safety and regulatory topics, please visit us at www.allensafetycoaching.com for web-based virtual coaching and training, or at www.allen-safety.com to book our team for on-site services, training sessions, to order merchandise, to learn more about our team and what services we provide in the field, or just simply to request a topic for us to cover on our next podcast. If you found today's podcast helpful and would like to support our podcast further, please help us by subscribing, liking, and sharing this podcast with anyone that could benefit from the information we cover here, as that helps us to continue to put out this free content. Thank you so much for your support.